Hello, everyone. I'm so excited here today. I'm Giselle from Kids Yoga Stories, and with me is Leslie Wolfe, someone we've just met recently through our school yoga program. And why I want to have Leslie here to chat with us specifically is through the school yoga program for the last 7 weeks. Leslie was in a position where she was offered a chance to apply for a grant for an American Health Association. And so I'd love for her to talk us through exactly the process she went through, because so many of us want funding or looking for funding, but we don't really understand what that step-by-step is. So Leslie comes from a background, and she's a PE teacher. She's been teaching for how many years, Leslie?
Well, I took 12 years off to stay home with my kids, but this would be, I believe, my 21st year had I not taken off. So,
right.
it is my 10th year of actually teaching.
Right. So you've got 10 years of PE teaching, you've got 3 children, so you've got the juggling it all, and you still were able to jam in the school yoga program, which I can't believe you did, by the way. So then your dream, though, is looking forward, how you applied to the AHA grant is you have a vision. Tell us about your vision of what you're hoping to do.
Yes. So ever since I fell in love with yoga in 2017, my vision has been to get yoga into the schools. I'm in Missouri, and so I wanted to start local. I'm outside of St. Louis in some of these really big suburban districts here. And then, my ultimate goal is like throughout the whole state, because I do know people. I'm not from here originally, so I have teacher friends in other areas of the state too. So my goal is to start, now that I'm back in the schools after staying home for a while. I've made these new connections. And because I'm in the PE realm, we got this email one day from the American Heart Association, and it was about this grant. It can be anywhere from $1,000 to $20,000. And it was while I was going through this program with you, Giselle, and I was like, oh my gosh, this like just fell into my lap, and so it was sent to the PE department within our district. And so I have emailed, and we've gone back and forth a lot. And per your suggestion, I went ahead and finished the course first. The deadline is in December, and it's November right now. So I had a little bit of time. So I went ahead and pushed through, and I finished the course completely, which was very helpful. Great advice from you. So when I finished the course, I had everything written. It's basically a proposal is what I wrote, and I did it all in Canva. And then that helped me to answer the questions. Most of the questions, it was a digital form to fill out. And so pretty much every question that the AHA asked was answered through the proposal that I had written through your course. So that was super helpful. So I basically just did a copy and paste. And then I emailed them and said, I also created my own proposal, and I would love to send it to you guys. After we had talked, I just thought this will show them how committed I am to this. Right. And it just gives them a little more detail and just kind of shows them my personality and a little more about me too. Mm-hmm. So my goal is to hopefully get, the maximum amount of money from this grant, and to propose it to my current principal. And then from there, I have about 5 other principals on my list, and I'm just going to start, even though the grant won't cover all of those schools, I'm going to start sending that proposal to these other principals that I have relationships with. And within the proposal, I have different scenarios, and it starts with the most expensive option, which is the most helpful option for the children, but keeping funding and money in mind, I'm giving them a couple of other selections as well for the principals to make the decision based on what kind of funds they have.
Right. Amazing. So going back to the grant, do you remember what kind of questions were on there? Do you remember what you had to fill out? So just to give people an idea of what is involved in the grant writing process.
Yes. So this grant specifically was from the American Heart Association, and it had you can select different goals for what you're applying for. And so mine was like an overall health goal, which was one of them. And so I selected that one. And then the questions were almost directly related to what I had written in the course. But one of them was just a basic explanation of what are you offering. And then another one was, why are you offering this type of question? And in my proposal, I have all of the links and everything to the studies. And so I believe in my response on there, I quoted the CDC, which I got from what you had said, and paraphrasing, but it was about children's mental health and how it has deteriorated since 2020, since COVID. And so I was sure to put that in there because that is a big reason behind this. I had a goal of doing this before COVID, but since COVID, if anything, the mental health crisis is worse. And so I think that will be, I hate to use COVID as a selling point, but it is a selling point because the children's mental health has deteriorated. And so I was made sure to just put the why behind, using yoga. And I believe I created or quoted the Dalai Lama, what you have that quote from him in the course about if every 8-year-old is taught meditation, then we could eliminate violence from the world within one generation. And so I've made sure to quote that like across the board, because I just think that's so good and it very well could be true,
Right.
So those were the types of questions and responses that I put in there. And I'd gotten an email from them before I applied for this stating the way it's worded is very, very important to the decisions that are made. So that's why I wanted to send my proposal that I wrote in Canva as well.
Yeah, I love that. I love that while you were going through the writing process, you actually emailed them, didn't you?
Yeah.
You emailed the woman and said, hey, just a heads up, I'm putting together a proposal, and you asked a couple questions. So there was a relationship building chance, and you kind of got an inside scoop about what they were looking for and how much. I think you straight up asked, what's the spectrum? Are you going to offer more at the 20,000, the 19,000, or the one? And so they were able to give you some insight there, right?
Yes. And that was very helpful. Just because that email had come, to my inbox, I had all of her contact information, and she works with our schools, like the AHA. This is like, I guess, the liaison, for the AHA with our public schools. And so she was just a wealth of information, and she forwarded it on to the person who was going to be making the decision. And apparently he has a team that reads through all this. So it's not really his decision. He just kind of oversees it. And so he replied back and gave some insight into, how much money he said that he really liked the idea. He liked it a lot. And he just didn't know, based on how many applicants, how much money they would be able to disperse between all the different ones. And that was who said it really makes a difference in how you write it and the letter and all that. So I, to anyone watching this, utilize Giselle and her team, because I typed out my letter and I sent it to you, and Giselle made some, you guys made some notes on it and stuff, and then sent it back. So we kind of went back and forth, and that was really helpful because I didn't love the way I had worded it. And I knew having another expert help me word it better would only help me. So always ask.
Yeah, I love it. Awesome. So tell us more about your actual plan. So you're saying you're looking at one school, one grade on one day. Tell us a little about how you were going to actually implement the program.
Yes. So my vision for implementation is 8 weeks per school. And the highest scenario is that I see K-5 within that 8 weeks. And depending on the size of the school, like I'm using my current school as an example, it's a large school. There's almost 600 kids in this elementary K-5. And so I broke down, how could I see every one of those children for 8 weeks? And so it would take me about 3 days a week, 25-minute classes, because I'd really like to see like one 5th grade at a time. And there's 5 5th grade classes. So if it's 25 minutes with 5-minute transition, my hope is to go into each classroom and not have to combine them, because then it becomes really large really quickly if we have to combine the classes. But that's an option. That's an option as well, is to combine them if needed to save a little money. And so see each class for 25 minutes, 5-minute transition to the next class, get through how many ever grades I can. And one day come back a different day that week, see a couple more grades, and then finish out the grades. And then the next week, come back and do it all again, and do that for 8 weeks. Then maybe take like a week break, in between, and then move on to the next school and do it again for 8 weeks the same way. That is my hope. Starting with this one school and then going from there, seeing what I can get.
Now, you also had in your proposal some working with the teachers and maybe consulting them, or maybe an adult class too, right? Because you're also interested in not just popping in for one day a week with each class, but also leaving some tools with them, right?
Yes, for sure. I can't remember exactly what I put in there, but I want to say maybe like some mindfulness, some ideas for mindful moments. And I followed your buy-in segment of that module, and I did just a quick little chair yoga thing with a mindful moment with the teachers on a PD day. And my assistant principal, who does not know I'm writing this program, came to me and said, I felt like that was so well received. I would like for you to just email me some other mindful activity ideas, and I'll type it up and make it look good and send it to the teachers. And I wanted to tell him I was going to do that anyway, but that's awesome.
Right.
I was just, and so I was like, I'm getting buy-in right now, and he doesn't even know what he's buying into,
Right.
Yeah. And so I've started typing up some mindful ideas. I haven't made it look cute in Canva yet or anything, but I sent them. Well, actually, I used the gratitude meditation from your Thanksgiving, and I did the yoga poses with the kids in PE yesterday, but then I sent the gratitude to the part of it to the teachers, because I was like, hey guys, this is a quick little calm down thing for 2 minutes. So that's how I'm getting buy-in. And so my vision is that I would do one like 90-minute training that's included in my price for this 8-week program during a professional development day. So I do 1 or 2 90-minute trainings, and then I leave them with ideas, like whether it's cards, like what you do. I had a teacher friend one time say she would love to have just a note card size ideas. Like if she's walking down the hall,
right,
she can have this on her lanyard,
right,
and
like our little mindfulness, like that, or like the breathing cards, like something.
Absolutely. I was trying to get ideas of things like, like that.
Yeah, right.
That's what she wants. I should just send her to you, but I was thinking, what can I sell and create myself?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
And I was asking her, what would you want, as a teacher? And she, and that was one thing that she wanted. She wanted something to keep on her lanyard. So if they're in the hallway and a kid is just having a panic attack or whatever, she can say, oh, use this breathing thing. Or whatever. And so my suggestion is ask the teachers what they want,
right?
Just ask them. Like, if you just start listening to the teachers, you're going to get so many ideas. Like, you don't have to come up with them on your own. Right. They're going to tell you what they want.
So amazing. So much gold here, Leslie. I remember there was a moment when we were on the call with a school yoga program participant, and you were telling us a story about you doing the chair yoga and the response from the teachers. And all of us on the call, we had this moment of like, you are so courageous. You just did it. You're doing what a lot of us sort of want to do and wonder about, and you just did it. Do you remember that moment of like, people just kept saying, thank you so much for sharing, because your courage gives other people courage. And it's just about doing it. And I think there was something that you've experienced. I'm sure you're a firecracker anyway, but you definitely had a fire in your belly. Like, you were telling stories about, you were listening to the program, like in between in the car and picking up a coffee or whatever. Like, you just jammed in the program, because a lot of people say, I don't have time. I don't have the money. There's all these barriers that we put up for ourselves. But at the end of the day, you're so driven by your why. You are so driven by, at the end of the day, to make a difference in these children's lives, that nothing is going to get in your way. Right. Yes. And
and to be honest, part I didn't tell y'all is that in 2020, I had reached out to my old principal. It was March of 2020, first week. And he was going to hire me to train the teacher. So that I was starting, and this was out without any guidance from you, because I didn't know about your program then. And I just thrown some ideas out there. I didn't know what I was doing, but he was, because I had a relationship with him, that was easier, you know?
Yeah.
And so he was going to hire me for that fall to come in and do a teacher training. And then the world shut down a week later. And so I knew then, I was like, okay, I can do this. Like, I already have a principal that is interested. Sadly, I was prevented from doing it for 2 years. Now, I could have taken it digital, but I didn't have the capacity then with my own kids.
Right.
And that's okay. I encourage you to just be in the moment that you're in. But this year, when I felt like I had to go back to work after staying at home, I realized quickly, this is not, teaching PE doesn't light a fire in my belly anymore. What lights a fire in my belly is helping these kids through yoga concepts and helping people, adults too, but especially children, because that's my passion. And sadly, just in the last month, we have had multiple threats at one of our local high schools. They've had to shut down just within the last week, actually. And there was also a school shooting in the city of St. Louis within the last month. And so it's becoming very close to home. You know, like it's sad enough when you hear it happen somewhere else in the country, but now that it's happened here, I think more so than ever, the children need this so badly. They need these techniques to help manage and deal with stress. And that's what yoga did for me. And so that's why I want to or does for me. It still does, not did. And that's why I just want to share it with as many people as I can. And I was super nervous to go into those teachers in October and do that chair yoga, because I haven't been at this school but a couple of months. And so I don't know them well. And I was like, I have no idea how, and I've been teaching yoga for years, but I was still scared because these are people I see every day. And I'm like, I don't know how they're going to receive this, but I got out of my own head and said, it doesn't matter. Like, I know what I'm doing is what I'm supposed to be doing. And there is a reason for it. So like you just said, you go back to that why, and why am I doing this? You know, and that's what helped me push through. And then it was a 7-minute thing, and it was so good, you know, that it was received so well. And so many teachers were asking me questions after. One wants me to teach like an adult yoga class, like after school time, you know, one wanted bedtime yoga ideas for her own children. And I was like, there's an Instagram reel I can create. There's a, you know, a whole Canva doc I can create just on bedtime yoga. You know what I'm saying? And so once again, listening to what they're asking for and then giving it to them.
Right. And it's such a beautiful experience that, you know, we're just messengers, right? The work speaks for itself. Like what you're talking about is 5,000 years old. It's not, or more, you know, it's not something that you're just making up on the spot. You're just tuning into all the practices and all the work that the training you've had and the history of yoga. The work works, and all you're doing is listening to your audience and what their needs are and planting that seed. That is what's so beautiful, right? Even for teachers to have 7 minutes. That's it. It doesn't have to be transforming the whole curriculum. It doesn't have to be changing the whole day, right? But it can just be these little moments that will make such a difference. Because those teachers, like you're talking about, right? What the troubles that the teachers are going through, right? They're reacting to the mental health crisis of the children. They're in it. They're in the trenches. They need as much help as the children and the families too, right? Sure. So giving them that time, and also with the children you're talking about, is giving those moments. Like I think about the children who are struggling, really, really struggling, right? Is to give them that gift of that internal reflection. We're so externally focused now, especially with the screens and, like you said, the COVID, right? What video gaming and everything else that's going on, even like sports we've talked about with some of your crew, the pressure that's put on with sport and all that kind of thing, right? But to allow them just to find themselves. Yes. What difference would that make if they could find themselves through a breath, through a moment, just a mindful moment, just to come back home, so that there's no external validation. They don't need to, the sense of belonging comes from inside, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, there's some kids always that will grumble about, oh, we gotta do yoga today, you know, but then when they do it, almost always, like, I'd say 95% of the time, I can tell that they feel better after. And I had a child, I was doing a Girl Scout troop a year or two ago, and we were doing resting pose at the end. And, you only have so much time. So then you got to end it because they got to move on to something else. And she walks up to me and says, Miss Wolf, can we please lay in this pose a little longer? And right there, she was maybe second or third grade. And I was like, that spoke to me so much because she is telling me I need this. My body needs this. Even if she doesn't fully realize, what exactly that meant, it spoke so much to me, about how her body was needing that stress relief and she felt so good with it. She didn't want to stop.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, your work, what you're doing, Leslie, is just such a gift. So talk to us a little bit about the future. So you've applied for the American Health Association grant, whether you get it or not, it is what it is. We've sent it out to the universe, right? But so what's your next step? What's your next plan?
Yes. So I'm taking this week off because it's Thanksgiving. And then next week when I get back to work and all my free time, I laugh as I say that. I have a list of principals that I mentioned earlier. I'm going to start reaching out to them. I'm going to modify. I believe it was you that told me that I should add a sample lesson plan in there if I'm sending it directly to principals. I didn't put a lesson plan in there for the American Heart Association because I didn't feel like it was necessary for them. I just gave them a brief, like bullet pointed, these are things we do in class. Yeah. But for the principals, I'm going to take out the personalized letter because there was a letter telling the demographic of my school. Obviously, a principal doesn't need that for their own school. Right. Yeah. So I'm going to take that letter out and then I'm going to add a sample lesson plan, 25-minute lesson plan. Here's what it would look like, an example. And then I'm going to start emailing those principals. My idea, and we can talk more about what you think here, but my idea is to email them that proposal and with the different scenarios and the cost, and then ask them if I can set up a meeting to discuss the different options. And I will also lead them to my website because my website has all the cost on it. Yeah. And that's what my principal had done before when I didn't have all this direction from you. He just went to my website and looked at my pricing and decided which one would work. Yeah. And so I will attach that too, because I can't put every scenario in there. It would be too long. And so that way he or she can get some better ideas of what I offer. But that's my next step. I'm just start reaching out to him. I'm worried about the money. That's the part that makes me nervous. Right. And I just decided, you know what? I just need to put it out there anyway. Yeah. And right. They may just find the money. Like they may.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And if they don't, then like my old principal in 2020, he might say, come train the teachers. Now, right. My goal is to obviously be working with the students and one day working with enough students that I have employees doing that as well, other yoga teachers. But if all they can afford right now is me working with the teachers, then I'll get a bunch of contracts working with the teachers first and then go from there. So that's my next steps for the rest of this year for December is to email all these principals and try to set up meetings for 2023. And see what happens.
So what would you say to somebody who's sort of just thinking about writing a grant or thinking about jumping from a full-time teaching career to being a kids yoga teacher? What kind of words of encouragement would you say?
I would say that you need to get out of your own mind because all the worries and the fears will stop you from doing it. Yeah. And so my philosophy is about anything in life is it's okay to be told no. But you do not know unless you ask. Right. I love that. So I am like, no. I don't know if it was after turning 40, I was like, I don't care if I get told no, I'm just going to ask anyway. You know what I mean? Like you just kind of, you got to let that part go. Don't take it personal if they tell you no. It's okay. You can revisit it later, move on to the next school, so be okay with being told no. But put yourself out there and do it anyway. Go back to your why. Know that this is going to help someone. this is going to help hopefully multiple people. But even if you just help that one child that really, really needs it, it is worth it. So let go of your head space and all of the things holding you back and just do it.
Love it.
And if time is a factor, like it was for me when it came to finishing this course, that's what I was saying on that call that you brought up. Every second that you have, you're not looking at Facebook posts. You're not doing anything else. You're not watching that Netflix show. And believe me, there was some stuff I wanted to binge watch, but I waited. I was like, I'm binging the school yoga course first because I had a deadline and that really pressed me. But, binge that first, do it all and get it done. Right. And then you can take that much needed break and watch your Netflix show, right. Or scroll through Facebook.
Right. Love it. Oh, thank you so much, Leslie. I'm just so honored that you took the time today and to share. And I'm no doubt it'll be an inspiration to our community. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And I'm just so glad that I finally pulled the plug and did this course, because it's just what I needed to push me in the right direction. So thank you so much for all your help.
Well, it's mutual. You as a student was just a joy. It's been a joy to watch your journey. I so appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Leslie. See you then.
Okay.